Ready? All right, the personnel and finance meeting is in order. The first thing on the agenda is metrics reports. Let's put it on the board of work.
Commissioner Adams.
Oh, you're
What you mean for the metric?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner and member and everybody else, good evening. Good evening. I wonder if we're gonna stay as quiet after we get through this report. As you know, this is a financial report and it's rather detailed. I want you all to have copies. You all have copies of it, right? The highlights of it, let me go through it and see if I can do this for finance. What you're looking at up on the screen right now is the operating cash accounts. And it's showing that it's showing that, oh.
I'm sorry.
I can't see. Okay. Oh, you
He
see.
gave us this, so.
Can you see the screen or do we need to cut the lights
It's not
out?
that good.
Yeah, the case is great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, the general fund is the major fund that you're concerned about. And what she's doing is showing, she's showing the income and the operating from the general fund. And then she's showing the major streets, permanent PPI, permanent public improvements, and the utility fund. And then the property. Some of these might seem to be out of balance at certain parts of the.
Weird.
Okay.
Go ahead. It's in there.
Seem to be out of balance at certain parts of the year. However, the bottom line is the budget is balanced and we can move pieces around inside of the budget. Also, you have to remember that that taxes and money come in at certain times. And there are certain times when it will seem that you don't have money. But there's no such thing as $20,000 left in the budget. Okay, so that's I want you to make sure you see. And then you can go through this. Any questions that you have, we can get them to the finance director, and she can get answers to you. her mother just got out of rehab, and she had to get her in today. Her mother almost left us last month. Yeah, so Rhonda,
Who's the finance director?
Rhonda Hillebrand.
Oh, okay, she just recently?
No, she is the contracted finance director.
Oh, Clinton Williams.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So we halfway through the budget now.
We're halfway through the budget. Now, the other significant, if you look at the screen or you look at your paper, what the most significant thing to me here is, the far right corner, far right column. And we're supposed to be at 50%, around 50% completed, as you can see at the top of the page there. But you see that some categories are higher than that. But that's not to worry, that because when it comes out the bottom line, you see we are only 48%. Okay? And some of these expenditures, money will catch up with the expenditure and get it back in balance. Okay, that's what I look at as managing the budget, just to make sure that we can get back in there, we'll be all right. So this is a pretty detailed thing, and we'll use this also to start on the budget process in a few weeks, and as a basis to start. And then we'll be looking at some other things.
Any questions?
It's
Mike.
working?
The mic is working now.
Okay, good. I get my exercise.
Mr. Henry.
Do we have any amendments to our previous budget? Is there anything that has been amended or needs to be amended?
We do amendments to the budget in May. Those are official amendments. Moving money around is not an amendment. Those are just adjustments that we make. Yeah. The budget amendment comes to you, the commission, for final approval.
So if you got an account with $3 million in it, you can move the money all around any way you want.
Don't move it around any way you want.
But I'm saying to your discretion.
Yeah, but it has to be justified, right?
It has to be justified, but that's not considered an amendment.
No.
Thank you.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, through the chair. In regards to what city managers has explained to us, and it comes to us for approval, before it comes to us for approval, does it come through this committee so that we can have and give input on some things that we would like to see some money used for?
Everything still goes through the process.
Okay.
Now, when we get into the budget, we're gonna have a full budget schedule, and we'll lay it out by dates and places that we'll be showing and getting input from the public and everything.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Singleton.
Mr. Manager, if you could have the finance person, the money that we collect for medical marijuana applications. If we could get some type of breakdown to what fund that was in and what was it, how it was dispersed. Because all we know pretty much now that it did come in and we did spend some on some stuff, but if they did like a chart or something like this to show.
We will do that.
Did that amount go directly into the general fund?
Yes, someone.
You don't have to. We didn't create anything.
We don't know. Mr. Watson put it somewhere else, but that's
For what?
that's what I like to see the breakdown, where it went to and
Yeah.
how it's expended.
Yeah. And someone here to explain that.
We'll make sure that we
Yeah.
get the full count.
Oh, yeah.
move on. Next we have on the agenda, personnel updates.
Right now, we have one job posting that's currently out, which is the part-time general labor in the water plant department. And that job, it will be posted for about a week. And Indeed is on our city website as well as posted downstairs.
Thank you. Next we have update cities.
Chair, Chair,
Oh, Tom.
the criteria for just a week of posting, why a week, Honorable Chair? Why a week of only, 1 week of posting for the position?
Because normally when we even do a week, we get a lot of resumes and applications that comes in. So therefore, when we have done longer than a week, it's too much to even go through.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Henry.
Chair, I would like to ask for some information. I've asked for it for other times, but I want to make sure that you and your board hear me ask for it. We don't know what happened 3 to 4 years ago in hiring, and there needs to be some accountability as to who was hired, what positions they were hired in, what salary they got, what their job description is. And I think that would either settle some rumors or straighten out some wrong. But it's something that, as you know, and we all should know, that the charter asks us to inquire, and I'm inquiring.
No, I think maybe a couple of months ago, did we get a breakdown of the?
We have gotten pieces of this, but we haven't gotten the full package. We don't know if there's a contract. We don't know if there's a contract, or what the salary is, or even the job description. So I just like to see it come through this body so we can do our vetting and researching. But we definitely need the information, otherwise we can't do our job.
See, can you get that information?
We can get it again, but that is gonna be a part of the budget process anyway,
Okay.
because I need to know, and I need to be able to plan in the future.
Will that eliminate this body from looking at it, Chair?
Well,
Beg your pardon, Chair?
Sure, city manager will send it to you.
Us.
Us, the full body, yes.
Is there a timeline that we can expect it, sir?
City manager.
Okay, what we were trying to inquire, the information that was given to you before, what is different?
We don't have, if there's any contracts, we don't have the job description or the salary. You sent me lists of the employees that were hired and the dates that they were hired, but the other information that's attached, we don't have. And it's essential that this committee knows that personnel and finances
Right.
have some opportunities to make things better
Mm-hmm.
and to straighten things out.
Yes. I
Thank
know. Okay.
Through
Mr.
the
Adams.
chair,
Okay.
thank you. I piggybacking off my colleague, I guess it just makes sense to have that information so that in the near future, we don't be surprised with any type of liabilities if there's some contracts that we're not aware of. Does this, personnel update include any information in regards to the bids that went out, that came in, that were open for the trash contract?
No.
That, we haven't done anything
I
with
was-
that. We haven't brought it to you to be ratified, nor have we determined if we are going to, what we're going to do.
Okay, in regards to that, through the chair, I don't remember it coming through committee for us to even put out an RFP before it's time. No, an RFP went out before we actually,
That was in the resolution, Chair.
I know what was in the resolution, I'm saying that an RFP actually went out prior to a 30-day period. And if bids came in, I was just wondering if we were privy to that right now, that's all. Trying to make no big deal of it.
Time.
Okay, Chair, further to, point of clarity further on the, inquiry into personal and, the personnel matter, and that one, in this inquiry to look at the contracts and make sure that the contracts are in compliance, with the charter, to, remediation or remedy to find violations in the charter. Also, with looking to the personnel, if 100 forms could be identified to the Personnel and Finance Committee that these individuals were hired and by whom, especially if there is a discrepancy or violation with the charter. And also if there is and individuals were improperly hired, restitution to the city in terms of if any monies were allocated to those individuals. Also, point of clarity in terms of those individuals who should be at work at month to month, who contracts have expired and came through committee through resolutions, to make that clear that for those positions, that according to the charter, just making sure that individuals who have to be employees are employees, and that they are not firms, contracts, and also the last point in terms of clarity, a time frame in which the assistance of other companies are being used in place of our own personnel, i.e. right now there's accounting assistance. Is that going to be resolved? Those are the points of inquiry. Thank you, Chair.
That will be made clear. Yes.
What?
Indigestion.
Your high indigestion feel, huh?
Mr. Adams.
Oh, no.
Oh, you gonna say? All right, next on the agenda, we have update, city manager's position.
Okay, so we reached out to both Mr. Mitchell and Ms. Doom, to set up the interviews for the city manager's position. Ms. Doom declined. She took a job offer somewhere else in Michigan, and Mr. Mitchell, is all set to go for an interview. I'm proposing to set up a special meeting on, Wednesday, January 29th at 7 o'clock to conduct the interview of Mr. Mitchell. And at that time, I was wondering if it's okay to have a, resolution prepared to either, to consider his appointment, on that same day. And in the resolution state that if it's the will of the commission to approve the appointment, that we set up like a subcommittee with the chair, co-chair, to work out like an agreement or contract. And then that will come back, before the commission at the next meeting.
Yes. Since it's on.
So moved.
Yes.
If you object, I'm going to announce.
So, Mayor,
Excuse me.
Commissioner Henry. Oh, you.
I'll wait on the next one. Don't just take it for granted. Okay? That's what I figured to say.
Yes. I'm just gonna throw this out because a couple of other commissioners threw it out in a meeting about the process. And, after the meeting, I got a couple calls from local people. And they said, well, I would love to apply for the job. And I'm like, you would? Of course, now, we had the opportunity where other people have been able to come and apply for it. And these people are ex-officials and citizens with understanding of government, and they thought it was really a slap in the face that we didn't allow them to even apply. Because it was only through Michigan Municipal League. And so I'm just, being that person that I am, to have to throw that out. And, so we can consider everything. If you're in a box, you might as well look at all corners, see what's going on. So that's one corner that it was, we had conversation about. A couple of commissioners talked about it, and so it's our decision as to what we want to do, but
Dr. Thomas.
Yep, our decision, what we wanna do.
Okay. Honorable Chair, Co-Chair of the committee, that process is always be done decent in order. Process has been followed by the line. The notification went out, not just into the normal channels, but also was basically known through media that this position was available, and that therefore there was also a time allotted to that particular time. And therefore, those things are done to go against protocol would be a breach. And therefore, if we're going to do charter due process and proper protocol, I'm requesting that as a person on finance that we stay compliant and move forward with the procedural motions in relation to the city manager. Unless extenuating circumstances that can show that those things did not occur, I think that the meeting for, as the 1/29/2020, 7 p.m. Should move forward unless there's some substantial evidence to say that something was not applied or in violation. I'm asking that of the chair and the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Explain what you just said.
No. You got the shorter version.
Policies were followed, so we could move forward.
Yeah.
Modify it, that's
Yeah.
all.
It was, you got the shorter version before we spoke.
Thank you.
I did.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have discussion update on RFP for finance director. We've been asked, I think we had a RFP out already for a finance director, but I know Ms. Hildebrand worked for Plant Moran. She been doing the finance position, but we need by charter, we're supposed to have our own
That's right.
finance director. It's charter says. So I don't know if that RFP is just out there.
It never went out.
It never moved forward.
Not after Mr. Clark was here.
Okay.
We received, was the resolution that, but we never,
It was a resolution passed during the tenure of former city manager Watson, and it was never issued out. It was never acted on.
Wonder why. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I have a big issue with this one. You see, if I have to follow the charter, I'm still learning. Everybody else got to follow the charter too. And that's one of them that we are definitely responsible for. My feet still hurting from the marching. under city, under emergency management. And Plant Moran is everywhere. They are everywhere, especially in the predominantly Black communities. I'm not saying that somebody is irresponsible for, you know, what they do, but the charter clearly says finance director. It does not say, in Plant Moran, they came in to help out the finance director to make sure that things were in order. I need somebody, because I'm not a financial person, somebody that's here that knows the in and outs, a public accountant of finances to explain to me what I'm looking at. And I mean to the dime, to the letter, to the penny. I need to know that. And that RFP should have went out. And I ask you this evening to make sure that it does. And give it a month if that's doable to accept applications. So that this council can overlook them and see who's best fit for that. I think that's our job as gatekeepers. And we need to be taking care of people's business.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Dr. Thomas.
Honorable Chair, to add on that historical note that, and in terms of conflict of interest, because prior to the assumption or taking over the city or under emergency management, there was involvement of that particular company, and that there was, based on information they had, that they may have managed differently and prevent the emergency management situation. And now that they're here, that normally that there be no implicit bias or bias, that that the finance director be like the one that was chosen by the previous Personal Finance Commission that had no links to Morant or any local, that it be pure and objective, and that their sole purpose will be just for the betterment of the city of Benton Harbor, and their response will be directed towards the city commissioners. And so since there may be tainted history, I'm asking that we take that in consideration as we move forward for a finance director, that we try to have one that has no history, and that will be committed to the city commission, because this is a city commission ran city. It's not a strong form of government, so it's not a mayor ran city. So you are the body that make the decisions. The mayor is just a at-large member with one vote and cannot sign anything without your commission. So we need someone who's going to be directed their energies towards addressing the needs of the citizens and the commission. So I'm asking that be like the criteria.
Thank you, Dr. Time, for that consideration. It's very important that we do have this position filled. You know, we've been waiting a while now for city finance director. And by charter, we do the commission been asking for this position to be filled for a while now. Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This is something that I've been trying to figure out when it changed and why it changed. Our clerk is really connected to us. She's our #1 fan, and she has all the information about stuff that we probably didn't know about or forgot. But when we are looking for our employees, our department heads, I would love to see the clerk put the RFP out, bring the information in. I would just love to have it so close to us, it's just the clerk's responsibility. I don't know when it changed, but somewhere along the line from the time I started in 2006 to now, it changed. And I'd like to see it go back. There's a lot of checks and balances to processes, and I just feel real comfortable. And I'm sorry to ask her to take on another task, but this is really important. The process for our department heads, it's because they're so important to our moving forward and sharing information, and it's really, can we please consider the clerk taking over those responsibilities when we're hiring our department heads?
I know, you said when it changed, you said you've been here since what, 2006?
6.
Changed what, 2010, when did the emergency manager come?
That's probably when all of this stuff started. But it wasn't like that before. When we interviewed our department heads, we had full range. We were in the process from the very beginning where we told them that that's what we wanted them to do, RFP. We told them how we wanted to do it. It was our process. And it worked well. So I just like to make sure that we go back to something that works well for us.
Dr. Time.
I don't want to share two things. One, could we say, is that process written? Two, can the clerk expound upon that? Is that that's a policy procedure, or is that was something if that role was involved, that was the policy procedure of the operation at that time and that was changed, or it was nothing that was done, but it was just because of working to make things run better? I'm just want some clarity on what are we talking about? That it sounds like what they're asking is to help in the screening process, gathering the data on RFPs and personnel to put a package together for the body to review. Is that what we're talking about? I just want to be clear.
So the process could,
Well, since I've been here, I haven't been involved in that process. So I don't know when it changed or if I've never been involved from the clerk's perspective. So
When did you come?
I came in 2004 and the clerk 2010. I've never been involved in that, in the hiring process in that degree. So I don't know if the city manager handled it.
You
Can't speak to it.
was you a clerk in 2000?
2010, no,
No,
but in
became-
2010,
When you became clerk,
never been
it
involved.
was the who was under emergency management.
Yep, we were.
You know.
So I don't know. I don't know what department it came out of.
So
With the hiring?
I know,
Issuing out the RFPs for different.
The queen is
positions.
here.
yeah, before the phone. Must yield to
The
the.
queen is here. She's
Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Young Chair. In 2006, before 2006, it was the commissioners, personnel finance, it was the city manager. He was the one that appointed all appointments after the committee of voted them in. And everything was turned over to city managers. We went strictly by the charter. They're not going by the charter today. Everybody got their own agenda. I don't understand. But we have agenda. We have a charter that you're supposed to go by. But everybody disrespecting the charter and doing their own thing. So what we need to do, we need to just, every time there's a committee, a vote, have the charter right there, put it beside the resolution and say, this is what we're gonna go by, this charter. Because it's gotta be like babies crawling, one step at a time, give them the charter for every little thing, every document, put the charter for. Because if they don't know, they won't know, they won't understand, they're not looking at the charter, everybody doing their own thing. So what we need to do, we need to go right by the charter, share, You need to bring the charter to the personnel finance meeting every time you come, and you need to direct everybody to what the charter said for every item. And respect the city manager, because he is the one running the city with the
Right.
body. Now, I've been here 30 years, and I know, I maybe done forgot some things. But when it comes time to know, I know. And we need to do what's right about the city and the citizens. And the personnel. We need to respect them more and do what's right about it.
So while you sitting there, Commissioner Harrelson, so hiring the finance director, what is the process? Please tell me.
Well, put the RFP out,
Right.
the personnel finance, we did the interview, and the one that we picked, it was then in the
That's right.
city manager hands.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
But I guess Commissioner Henry is saying, I mean, the hangup is who issues out the RFP,
Right.
right?
Well, that's part of it, but it's never come back to this committee like it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's like a chain
But-
of command.
Only reason why I say RFP out, because when she does, whoever does the RFP, it comes right back to her anyway.
Exactly.
She's the first one they say, we issued an RFP, therefore we're gonna put it in the paper or whatever we're gonna do. She's the one that does it. And she's the one that's closest to us as far as the city manager, you know, he has his own closeness.
Her
So
charter.
that's how it goes for just general RFPs, but for hiring, they don't, they don't come to me, they go to
It's
personnel.
communication between the clerk
There's a
and the
difference
city
between
manager.
an RFP and a job search.
Right.
And the charter makes it easy.
Point of order. Wait a minute. Commissioner Singleton.
Yes, the difference in the RFP and the job search. RFP is for like contracts or contract services. So a job search is, you know, you're putting out, you requesting people to apply for a position. So it's not an RFP, it's
It's a job.
you put out a job notification in open. So that's the difference. We keep interchanging the word RFP.
Good. Straighten us out.
Commissioner
I really didn't want anything. I just been reading the charter all this time, thinking I was following it. I mean, we have a couple that's been here longer than any of us, so, I mean, I've been down here for the last 20 years, but I spent most of it on the brownfields.
Yeah.
And the river authority and some other things. I know.
Director Golliver.
I agree with all of the commissioners. I think it needs to be a process in place because right now there is no process in place as far as the process for hiring commission appointed employees. And unfortunately, both Kim and myself, after the emergency manager, this is our first time going through this process with hiring a city manager and a finance director. So if there was a procedure or policy in place, then it would be better for staff to actually follow these procedures. Because right now it's like up in the air and we're just doing the best we can to make sure that we follow every guidelines possible.
Let me say this to the chair. Even though I only came on board as a commissioner, I attended a lot of these meetings for the past 20 years. And I'm aware of the process, and until emergency management took place and we were headed back into local control and the last city manager took over, before we became back into actual local control, they did the hiring because we were under that type of management. And once that died, once that emergency management was exonerated, so was everything else, along with some of the decisions and resolutions that it had made. And we go back to the city charter. But I do agree that we need to, as a body, put together and update the charter. I mean, that's what we are. We're the lawmakers, the gatekeepers of the community, and is probably so outdated that now is probably the time to gain better vision and make sure that everybody is in the lane that they're supposed to be in.
Dr. Tyner.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, through the chair, most municipalities have policy and procedure manuals in terms of the day-to-day function of operating the city. Do we still have that manual available that should address this issue, or has that been misplaced, lost? Because there's already a policy manual of procedure that runs municipalities, even here, that we should be able to, the honorable city manager should be able to go to it and say, okay, this is the process and policies and procedures for doing this. Do we still have that access, or can we get access to that?
City manager.
You know, y'all are doing some work you don't have to be doing. HR put out the job search for you. When the documents come back in, you get to review them. You get to hire who you want to hire. It's a simple process. And you have a city manager that will make sure that it comes in. And every employee that's working in this city is a part of the management team. But every one of the employees that you hire, the ones that are under my authority, they also are part of the management team. So we work together to make this a whole team.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Thank you, city manager.
So I was legit, ask that then make this real simple, that HR put out a job search for finance director. And we go there.
Now, in terms of that, the only thing I had asked before, and I still ask now, is that you be stable for get through the budget. We just finished the audit.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about the audit, and the auditors will be in here on Monday to give you a detail on that. And then we're getting ready to go into the budget. I don't need to be looking for a new finance director to go into the budget. Right, so we can finish the budget cycle, and then that you can get your RFP out, but then at a time that's appropriate, I would say.
That's a solution to the city manager's problem, and I'm really trying to have some compassion for this position that he's in. And that sounds feasible, but my only problem, and I know that it's probably one of the same problems that each one of my colleagues feel, that when we ask for something and we get a pushback, something that we as a body has already decided on, and we get a pushback, that's not a good feeling. Well, I'm only speaking for myself right now, but I also have spoken to other colleagues, and they feel like there's somebody pinching them or doing something to them when we get a pushback from something that we want as a body, something that the charter says the majority rules. So I'm gonna have to just be the one to keep talking about it and hope that it doesn't happen.
Commissioner, if you're talking about the statements I made as a pushback, that's not what they are.
I'm not talking about the one statement that you made, Mr. Mitchell. Not one statement. It's not just one statement that you made. I'm talking about other things. And the commissioners know because we've had conversations about it. And if we don't get a handle on it, that position, may you go all the way back to Joel Patterson if you want to, for city managers, it'll be the same problem. But the problem lies here. That if we don't give Mr. Mitchell or whoever's sitting in that position an avenue to go down, the priorities to do it, they'll do whatever they want to. And I don't even have to go into some of the dialogue of doing whatever they want to. So now, we can sit here and act like we all gung-ho and everything is honky-dory. But it's not until we show where our authority lies. And I understand Mr. Mitchell don't want,
But
I wouldn't want to change a horse in the middle of the race. I'm totally in agreement with it. But I'm also not in agreement with him pushing back with all our other initiatives and the priorities we've set. So
May I?
I have to say it.
May
And
I
I don't
re-
need, no, sir. I really don't want
okay,
to hear any rebuttal because what I said about you was true.
Commissioner.
You're doing a good job. You're just slowly doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
If I may through the chair, we have had 2 past finance directors in the last 4 years, and they were good. They were good at explaining things that actually worked. I'm sorry? No, we had 2. In my opinion, we had 2. In Commissioner Adams' opinion, we had 2. Okay. And they were ran away. But they were only ran away when they saw things that were out of the realm of what should have been going on. Now, when it comes to finances and monies, I think that's a smart person and a red flag goes up. But I think that we need somebody in place, and I wish that you would send that order forward so that they can work along. It's going to take time anyway for this person to come in and get a feel and oversee and start looking through the operations itself. That in itself takes time. But the last one we had seemed like he came right in, and when he was allotted the chance to explain in a manner in which the majority of us asked him to, he performed. And I just think that we need to take care of our business and get somebody in here that's qualified to be able to take the reins just in case something happened to Plant Moran. Period.
Dr. Time.
Honorable Chair, I'm just making sure that I'm clear. What my understanding is that the search for the finance director is moving forward, and that it was in terms of budgeting and time schedules that certain tasks need to be completed, especially this budget task, which is also mandated, that completing that task and then starting the interviewing process and searching. So we can, from my understanding, you can gather the application process, but trying to do double duty with budget and do that. You're saying that complete one and then immediately go into the other. I thought that was what I was hearing. So I just wanted to be clear on the timetable schedule, because you have a work plan that you can execute. So I wanted to be clear on that.
City Manager, can you give us a timeline
On what I'm proposing?
Yeah.
We're getting ready to start the budget. As I said, you got the audit. You're gonna get the presentation on that on Monday. It comes to commission as a whole. And then we're getting ready to go into the budget. And we'll finish the budget in June. Okay? That would be an excellent time to be able to have gone through the RFP process and then have the new finance director come in.
after the budget?
Yes,
So, but we still can put out the,
yes.
okay, yeah, okay.
It's the time.
Yeah,
And let me say something. It's critical that you understand. It's critical. What I do is not push back, Commissioner.
I wasn't talking about you, I was
No,
talking about the clerk.
Oh, okay,
Now.
but here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. It's my job to make sure that things are done in a timely manner, in the most efficient manner and the best manner that can be done. I make mistakes too, but I've got to think about the whole thing. And it's important, I believe, and I might be wrong, but I think it's important to show some stability for a while.
Yeah.
And getting this good audit that you're going to hear about, that you have copies of, and I'm sure you're gonna have questions on Monday night. And then get a budget that makes sense, that all of you are involved in and you understand the development of it. You've had input in it, the residents have had input into it, and you know what your bottom line is. So nobody will be standing up saying we didn't have a $20,000 at the end of the year,
Exactly.
okay?
Okay. I have a question through the chair.
Wait, you finished?
Hurry up,
I have a question to the chair because what I need to know is Plant Moran going to be a part of that budgeting process
Yes,
as normal, the finance director would?
the finance.
And I agree with you.
Yes.
And that's why I asked for that RFP to run for at least a month, because we're looking at what? We're in the middle of January already.
Mhm.
And see, that's a time thing that'll take us well over into March. In May's next door.
No, it's asked you to let the city manager determine the time when the RFP or whatever it is that he do, make it a 30-day, because if it sits on somebody's desk for 30 days and then it sit on somebody else's desk for 30 days, we'll get the same thing we got this last time.
Put it out and the applications come in for 30 days.
Right.
So,
Thank you, Commissioner.
yeah,
That's what was said. I was going to be, we're going to put the RFP out and just collect the applications and then later on, do the interviewing process and selection.
Thank
we
you, Dr.
we
Tyler.
didn't get a good job selection because everybody that was good had went on and found a job. You have to, when you're looking for a job, trying to get somebody a job, you have to, don't hold on to their application for 6 months.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, and that is exactly why the timing is important. You start doing it now, people are looking for you to be ready to do it now.
That's right.
But if you wait until we get this budget stuff together, because I need that institutional
I heard
information.
you say that. I'm talking about that other process. Let him do it. Let him determine what date it is. Long as he do it,
Yeah,
and then if it comes back, who opens it? You? Do the
HR.
HR open it?
I have a question.
Thank you.
Just regarding the RFP, that's like a request for proposal. We're
Right.
hiring someone, not on
So that's
contract.
job,
You said
that's what you call job
It
search.
would just be a job opening for, because it's a difference.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be necessarily like who opened it, but I will receive the resumes.
You,
Now, what she's saying, so it's clear, if it was an RFP, we'd have to do an opening out here in
Yeah, I
public,
know,
and the clerk would do the opening.
Right. After that 30-day period,
Thank you.
after collection. Yeah.
But that's not what we're doing a job search.
All right.
Thank you. Got the- Next on the agenda, we have discussion, the 2020 senior PGA agreement.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to go over this agreement?
Mm-hmm.
that,
Pardon?
Yep.
Yes. All right, here, Commissioner Henderson made an excellent suggestion of the process.
Sorry.
You want me to wait for you?
no. Go on, quick, fast. Tim, come back and get on the phone.
Go ahead, city manager.
Thanks, bye.
Commissioner Henderson made an excellent suggestion. And that is the process that we will follow to get down. What I was really surprised to hear was the agreement that you got from the PGA that they're willing to listen. So I want you, each one of you, to look at what you really want and then get together and then we present it to them. Now, we're going to do the figures. In other words, the provision will be closed for a number of days. And that process, let's say it's the $800. It might be more because they're not residents. That part wasn't taken into consideration. Time the number of days. Then there are a number of parking spaces that will be used. Time the number of days. And then we'll come up with a figure and I'll present that to you. So then we're talking about, let's say we're talking about $50,000. Maybe it's probably more, but say $50,000. Then we're telling them why we're recommending more, not just we want more. Okay? The other part, all right, go ahead.
Question, man.
My
Oh.
question through the chair.
We gotta come to the mic. He's still talking, Mr. Duncan. Point of order. Go ahead, city
I'll
manager.
wait till later.
Okay.
No problem.
The other thing, what was the other thing?
You gotta stay on point.
There was one other thing that I wanted to ask. But the bottom line is, go through this, and wherever you have a question or concern, let's get it written down. And then let's get it into one document so that we can present it and then see what they do. The whole thing, here's the other thing that I was thinking about. They talked about the number of dollars that are coming into the city. I want them to lay that out so that you can see exactly what the other dollars are. And you can know what they are. Okay. And then there's the concern about Jerry raised the question, Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Edwards raised the question about volunteers. And if you want volunteers to be covered, put that in there.
Been like that.
Are they good for
Yeah,
volunteers?
but the volunteers have to buy their own uniform. That's what he established with his question. If you want something else, say it and let's negotiate.
Okay.
Vince, you finished?
Yes.
What was the suggestion? He mentioned that a good suggestion was made, but didn't give that to the body or to the
Okay.
audience.
That you missed the meeting,
City
that
manager.
Commissioner Edwards, put something forth.
He had said,
I've been waiting for 8 years for this. I waited 8 years for this document to be renegotiated with Harbor Shores, and now it's here. And I think that what we had before us, not only hear me now, but hear me when our next meeting takes place as well. Because it's a song that's been sung often too long, and we've been just hanging on. Our schools are in trouble. And if anybody read the article about the young man that spoke about what the children need after school and everything else, some of their young parents need it as well. Not only just things to do, but training. Something to awaken the young minds, including the old ones. Training. This is a perfect opportunity for Manchester Bidwell to take place. Perfect opportunity for Manchester Bidwell to take place.
a part of the.
And I want to know who's ready to take the trip to Pittsburgh. We need 4 commissioners and I think 2 more Brownfield Authority Board members. It's a no-brainer, and they don't even want 150,000 anymore. They're willing to work with us for a feasibility study. Every time something happens at our high school, we are the ones basically standing on the front line. As the gatekeepers of this community, we have before us a perfect opportunity to give back and actually do something for this community. To not only, these people have all the resources at hand that we would need, that wouldn't cost us anything other than partnering with people like these main ones to say all this good stuff about what they want to do, and others that come into our community and talk the same game, and we end up shame. Now is the time in the season upon us to ask for what we want.
Thank you, Commissioner. Right, so city manager meeting is next Wednesday, right? For this PGA,
No,
the 29th?
no, we haven't scheduled it yet.
Can I get the information I requested through the chair, city clerk Thompson?
Gail got a question. Gail?
Oh, I'm sorry.
To the city manager, what, did the PGA couldn't make it today, that's why no one here,
No,
nobody
They-
present?
we didn't invite them today. Wanted to talk with you first.
Well, we
Talk
was
to-
there first. They couldn't make
They
it
couldn't
today.
make it
They couldn't
today.
make it today.
But I didn't want them to come today. I wanted to give you a chance to understand the document and exactly what we need to do to have discussion.
So, my question is really that document we should have received in November, December, to make any official changes that we wanted to make to that document. And really, October, November, somebody should have been a part of that planning process so that we could have, or even at the end of that particular one, we should have gotten one so that we could have made the necessary changes. And I think it was incumbent on us to do so, to be able to make those changes, and that didn't happen. So at the juncture where we are now, we're saying to these people, because we didn't get this document when we should have gotten it, and I know that you guys, because I think he said something about parking that they needed to pass out to get some things done. We're actually getting ready to, I don't know, stop them from doing whatever it is that they're doing to make changes, or is this change in effect for the next 2 years is my question.
Well, first of all, the reason the document is just getting here is because they did not have it ready. And they came in, I think it was in, was it November, early December, and explained that it wouldn't be ready.
So I guess what I'm saying, so
this
it's
is-
planned every 2 years.
But
And
this
because
is,
it's planned every 2 years, at the end of that particular season, which would have been 2 years ago, we should have gotten that document so we could have made changes and handed it to them. So as they were making changes, we could have implemented anything that we saw or needed to implement at that time. 2 years ago, actually.
I understand what you're
That's
saying.
what I'm saying.
I don't know if
So when one ends, like now, we would have been given that document like we've been given now to make changes for the upcoming year, because it sounds like it's the same, it's been the same document
and
year after year after year. So they really haven't made any changes.
that is the case. It's been the same.
It's been the
But,
same,
but it's up to us to make a
absolutely.
recommendation.
I agree.
But to have done it 2 years ago, there are so many changes that have been made over a 2-year period. So I understand that, but this is still a negotiable document. This is not a signed and executed document. So and he did say it, and I was glad to hear him say it. So now you have a chance to negotiate what you want.
Mr. Henry?
Honorable Chair, through the chair, I want to ask the city manager, when he and the attorney spoke with these PGA people, did any of this Did any changes happen? Did any information shared? Because this document was given to us by the clerk way before Mr. Mitchell got here. And I made sure that everybody got a copy of it and told you that it was the 18th, 2018, the document was expired and that we needed to do something. So nothing happened. Well, I asked through the chair for Mr. Mitchell to explain when he did meet with the PGA and the attorney and one other person, I forgot who he told me it was, what happened?
What happened was they explained that they were coming with a document and they were gonna be late with the document. They did not have the document ready when they came. The document came, when I saw it, you saw it.
And it's the same document.
And it's and as they say, it is the same document that they had the years before. But now that we open it up and we have our eyes wide open, they are willing to entertain, negotiate.
So nothing came out of your meeting with the attorney and the PGA? Is that what you're telling me, yes or no?
What are you asking?
I'm asking you, did anything, did you negotiate, did you have any, did you know this document was even available? Because we got ours from the clerk.
What you got was the document dated for, was it 18?
18.
For 18,
Yes,
right. This document is dated for,
no, they just changed the dates and
That's
half
it.
the dates
That's all
are
they.
wrong on this document. Half the dates are wrong on this document. They made sure they put that $2,200 correct, but the rest of the dates are wrong. They got May 11th through the 25th, and they got other things.
It's the
in
same
there.
document.
It's the very same document, they just changed the name. They
Commissioner.
just changed the date.
Through the chair.
All we have to do.
Now, the question is, through the chair, I didn't get my answer, but I already know what the answer is. So let me ask you this. If this is January, this is supposed to happen in May.
Right, I was right.
So how soon is this gonna happen?
Commissioner, what's the problem? What's the
We
Because-
problem?
have to have a special meeting to take care of it, Commissioner, that's what we can do.
No, we
Through the
should not
chair.
have to have a special.
Okay, so what we gonna do? What's the solution?
What, do you wanna hear?
Yeah.
Through this committee, all our committees are the work horses. We do the work. And then we tell the city manager what we want. This is how the process goes. We do the work. We say, well, city manager told us it was 34 parking spaces. Fine. But why take so much time on this that's been sitting?
When? We,
Go ahead.
solution.
Henry, go ahead. Say what you're saying.
I don't know, we need to do this now.
When?
And we don't look like a bunch of slowpokes, because this is 4 months out. Nobody plans anything 4 months out. They have been advertising for this event all over the country since 2018, 19.
So a special meeting is in order.
So something gotta come out of committee to say what we want. And I'm
We
saying,
want a partnership for Manchester Bidwell.
I'm saying that we got 2 pavilions that they block off. The one down in whatever hole that is, and the big one, parking spaces. And we ought to hold them to, when they damage our stuff, riding their golf carts all over our walking trails, and they break down all of those boards, and we have to replace them every 2 years. That is not right, and it should not keep happening. So all of these things, but it's got to come out of committee. You cannot keep.
So we can plan a special meeting.
Oh, call another special meeting. I like it like that.
No, write thing, can we write everything down that we want
Meeting.
through the chair?
Mr. Chairman. what I just said was, you have the documents. Write down all of those things that you have concerns about and then come together and put one document together.
I, for one, through the chair, am not going to give this city manager a hard time because when I found this document earlier last year, after the last PGA, I posted it on Facebook, wondering why it was taking him so long to bring forth renegotiations. Did I not?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Jesus.
I think what Commissioner Kearney is saying, the PGA is around the corner,
Right.
and we should give them a time frame like a month to come up with to meet with us and come up with a solution. So May is around the corner, and we don't want to wait a month before to get everything together. And now we ain't gonna get what we want.
We don't get what we want.
You know.
Or it won't be.
Thank
Period. Who missing the most?
Thank you. Everybody take a look at their contract, agreement.
Can you give us a date when we should have these together? Cause you know for a fact that we don't
Today's
respond to emails and we don't respond to contracts.
Who don't?
Well, we want
You
to do
do.
this at
The rest of them don't.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I want everybody to have their,
One was the
Suggestions
end of
in
an emergency state.
Tuesday. Thank you. Next on
Send
the
it to us, please.
discussion, youth people's budget. Put,
Yes.
Mr. Adams had this in mind, is youth, people's budget. People's budget. Mr. Adams, you want to speak on that?
Yes, sir, thank you, Chairman Isom. This idea of a people's budget came about from the People's Assembly that came up from Mississippi, that goes to a lot of the predominantly communities of color around the country, trying to come together on one accord as to what works in predominantly Black communities, and this just happened to be one. And they happen to be affiliated with My Brother's Keeper, as well as Black Lives Matter and Black Voters Matter, and some other organizations. And they're going around teaching these communities what they can do for the people. And this was a suggestion, and I just want to run by you that I'm working with a grant writer, and we're working on establishing a credit union. And I would like for it to be a people's credit union, a people's community credit union, and owned by the people. I think the last time something like that happened, I think it was through the school, and it ended up in the township, and now it's in St. Joe, after everybody's gotten rich. And I don't know how many of us are employed, but something that this community can keep and hold on to through by way of credit cards, small loans, low interest, whatever. And we have a lot of things before us right now, including this PGA partnering with Manchester Bidwell, putting this people's budget together for various things. The meeting that we hosted, the event that was hosted out at the college for the youth, ran up to about 12 grand. And the city wasn't out of pocket, but some of the city's money was out of pocket because another entity took care of some of it. And I thank God for One Love Global out of Lansing. When things like that come about, and the event that happened Saturday, trying to bring the community together, we need to be able to host things like that on a smaller budget, or just having something in a budget somewhere to be able to do some things for the people in this community. I recommend thinking back to Commissioner Singleton's agenda of public safety and rec, to actually formulate a department, maybe something in the form of sustainability, community, youth department, recreation. I mean, add all of that in there. those type of things where monies can be deferred to from maybe possibly, let's say, the block grant dollars, some of these or businesses that are coming in to launch some funds into, for us, the gatekeepers of this community, to put together a community and make the decisions for the people, the ones that the people's voices have actually spoken up for and to, because we just had an election and some of us, we're still here. Somebody trusts the process that they see going on in Benton Harbor. And I saw it nothing but growth. It may be slow, but it showed. I would really like to see a separate department, and we were talking about our charter earlier, and I actually found that in our charter, that we have the authority to actually do that. And I think that it needs to be done, something set aside from the city's general fund. And I ask that you would give grave consideration to that and take it into consideration and let's do it. I think that it's also a way to get some of the youth involved in the community on a committee and start making decisions for themselves as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think it's good to have a plan and a vision, you know, for the people of the city, the youth especially, you know. And so I'm sure we can move this to the next meeting, planning and economic meeting agenda. We can put that on there.
No, sir. We don't do that.
Yes, Dan.
That budget, anytime you talk about budget, you talk about personal finance, it has nothing to do with planning. But we have a very full agenda coming up this month. And maybe if you want to do it like that, then we'll move to February. But your meeting will be before we can put it on this. It's a very large agenda that we have next meeting. I do apologize to you, Chairman, but I would love to bring it back to your committee.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll bring it back. Okay, next we have on agenda the audit.
Mr. Chair, and what I've already talked about the audit. I'm asking you all to be sure to read your 2 audit documents, look through them and get familiar with the layout of them. And they will be on the agenda Tuesday, the 21st. And the auditors will be here to go through and give you their results.
Thank you, City Manager.
That audit document that we received had some citing on the back of it, talking about HUD and our Community Economic Development Department, that should be vetted or talked about. It was the findings from the audit.
Right.
For our expenditures, how money can be spent, how money can't be spent. It was on the back of that audit. You know, I would just ask the question, you know, when will we get an update on how was the money spent, or why did HUD not appreciate it, or why was it a finding? We do need to know that, you know.
So it's gonna happen Monday.
So we will have an update.
Tuesday.
We have an update on Tuesday.
The auditor will be here on Tuesday.
Well, what I would ask the committee, I think we should have some information before then.
We do have, guidance.
I'm talking to the chair.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Chairman Isom, I would ask that we get the information before then, because I think there's something we should handle internally before they go external. And before the news media picks it up, I think we should have some kind of clarity on that issue. Being that the audit did go through and we did get that last meeting, I would just ask if we can get some clarity on that, whether by email or by somehow knowing the expenditures, because I've seen lately the trips and things that were happening with the Planning Economic Development Department. And I just want to know why was it a finding, and how long do we have to fix it, and what did we put in place so it doesn't happen again? Thank you.
City Manager, could you get that to us the information?
You received the audits,
Mhm.
both audits, and the information is right there, and they will be explained on Tuesday.
Thank you, City Manager. All right. Next meeting.
Oh,
Meeting adjourned. Yeah.
Again, I'm asking a question because the auditor is not our employee. The auditor is not our employee. They report out of their findings. We have to have internal control to fix the audit findings. The auditor is not gonna fix the internal issues that we have. So, we need something from our staff
For the meeting.
before the meeting because the auditor just gonna report out on what they find,
That's right.
not the internal controls that we put in place to fix the issue. So, through the chair, I would ask that we get something on the internal controls that we put in place to remedy the issue, or if we did not, then we can say we did not, but the auditor is not responsible for fixing the internal controls. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mr. Chair, the city manager does know what is supposed to be done about the response to the audit. What you're going to find out is the responses. You can see it, but the auditor will explain it. Any findings that will come from the city will be prepared by your staff, come back to you, and then once they are approved, they will go be sent.
Thank you, City Manager. All right, this meeting adjourned. Thank you. Good meeting.
St. George. I wasn't. Wasn't a bad day.